Hey everybody, it's Dave and Nicole, and it is Sunday afternoon, and we are doing what we love to do on a Sunday afternoon, which is cook. Actually, what I like to do is eat Nicole's cooking. Nicole loves to cook, and I love to eat. So today, what are we making today, Nicole?
Today we're just going to make pasta marinara and in a meat sauce. And first thing you're going to need is, if you don't have one in your kitchen already, a kitchen aid. These are industrial quality. It'll last a lifetime. They really make cooking and baking a breeze. The novice can use it in the kitchen all the way up to the gourmet cook. It'll really transpire your cooking and take you to a different level.
I am living proof this is a novice level machine.
Yeah.
And it has all these cool attachments. In addition to the big mixing bowl, it has this thing right here, and you'll see how it works later, but there's all these cool attachments. So what are we using today for the attachments?
So first thing we're going to use is the food grinder, meat grinder, food grinder. I'm using fresh pork, and I'm going to make, it's actually the rib meat that I'm going to make, that I'm going to incorporate into the tomato sauce. And then after that, I'm going to be making fresh pasta. There's two different pasta attachments that you can get for your, actually there's three different, but the two that I like for your mixer is, this is called a, this is a three-piece pasta, no, this is the three-piece pasta roller and cutter set. So the roller rolls out your dough, and it can make lasagna noodles, or you can use that to make ravioli or tortellini. This also makes spaghetti and fettuccine. And the other pasta making machine that I like is the six-piece pasta press. So six different types of noodles that you can make, which is super exciting. And lastly, what you'll need when you're making some fresh pasta is you are going to need a noodle drying rack. Super cheap. You can find one on Amazon for about 12 bucks.
And for me, despite the deliciousness of Nicole's homemade pasta, I really try to eat grain-free, so I'm more of like a paleo eater. And so we have this other attachment here, which we're going to show you, which is a spiralizer. So I'm going to show you how to make noodles using a sweet potato. Today using this thing, which also has 4 attachments. It's just a great little machine that we have enjoyed having so much because it just brings so much versatility to the kitchen. So with that,
let's get started.
Let's cook.
All right, so here we are. So I've got my pork, and the reason why I also like using the food grinder is, if you're like me, you want things on the leaner side, especially when it comes to meat. So if you buy your meat whole, you can trim it yourself. You can trim off some of that fat. So I've already gone ahead and done that here. And I like my marinara a little bit on the more southern Italian style, more Sicilian style. So I toss in some fennel seeds and just a little bit of red pepper, crushed red pepper, just to give it just a little bit of kick, sea salt, and coarsely ground black pepper. So I'm going to show you real quick. All you do is you load up here on the food tray. There's 2 grinders that are in the kit, and you want to use the fine grinder as opposed to the coarse grinder. And then set your speed to 4. Watch the magic. There's also a little plunger that comes with the kit that you can push your meat down in. You can see that it's starting to come out here.
Is there like a sausage thing you could do with this as well?
Yeah, there's a sausage attachment that you can buy if you want to make your own homemade sausage. And you can do vegetarian as well. All right, so here we are getting ready to make our pasta dough. I'm just making a traditional white flour pasta. You can use whole wheat as well, and sometimes I like to, if I'm doing white, sometimes I mix in some semolina, but this is just going to be super easy, straight white. It's 3.5 cups of sifted flour with about 2 pinches of coarse salt that I put in there. And then what I like to do with my eggs, it takes 4 eggs. I use organic eggs. I like to let them get to a little bit more to room temperature. It just makes the dough a lot easier to work with. So let's get started. So just basically just gonna let that stir for a second. And then I'm gonna move it up to number 2 on the mixer. And then you wanna add your 4 eggs, and then I put about a tablespoon of water in here, which you might end up having to add a little bit more water. And you just do 1 egg at a time. Let that incorporate a little bit. Second egg. So around this point is when you can tell if you want to get a close-up if you're going to need more water or not. Because you want to keep your eye on the bottom of the bowl. And if there's still dry flour down there, that's when I'll add a little bit more water. So once it starts to form a ball, whoopsie, that's wrong way. That's when you want to switch out, and then you want to put in your dough hook, which these two attachments come with the KitchenAid standard. So you just want to get rid of that. It's super easy to clean. Put in your dough hook. And then basically put that on, again, number 2, and you let it rock until it forms a ball. So as you can see, it's at a ball now. And so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to release that. I'm going to put a little bit of flour over it, roll it, and have it rest in some cling wrap, plastic wrap for 30 minutes, and then we'll be ready to cut our pasta. All right, bucatini time. One of my favorite Italian noodles because it's long and hollow in the center, and I really love the texture of that noodle. And so we're using the KitchenAid pasta press. The bucatini attachment is put in underneath. And basically when you use the pasta press, this is how you have to prepare your pasta, is roll up little pieces in golf-sized balls. I wouldn't suggest rolling them all out because your pasta is going to dry up, so I keep a portion of it wrapped in saran wrap. And I put a little bit of flour inside the attachment, and so you're going to see that fall out a little bit as we get started. I'm going to put this puppy up to 4. Basically all you do is just feed it. There's also an attachment that KitchenAid gives you to push down on the pasta. Then I stop it about this length. And a really important thing, this is your pasta cutter. You want to kind of lift it up slightly so you make sure it gets a nice clean cut, and hold your other pasta. And then this is when we use the drying rack. So you move your pasta over to the drying rack. Some people dry their pasta in little balls. I prefer using a drying rack. Just suits my style. And that's it. So you keep doing that until you're all out of dough, and then you're ready to cook your pasta and have dinner.
All right, so we're going to cover the spiralizer now. We are going to take the sweet potato and we're going to turn it into noodles. I had a spiralizer. I had one of these things. It was from, I think, TJ Maxx or Target or Marshall's or something. It was plastic and did the same thing really well about 10 times, and then it broke. And that is where we bring in a professional piece of equipment, which is this thing, which is not plastic. There's a little bit of plastic there. That's all metal. All metal. And so it's very, very simple. You take this poker thing. And by the way, if you're working with a sweet potato, poke some holes in it, put it in the microwave for about 90 seconds, depending on how big it is. If you have something like a zucchini or a summer squash, you don't need to do that. But with a sweet potato, you really do, because it's just kind of too tough for the blades to get through. So then you just put this, get it buried in there. So we just kind of let this thing turn away. So that's what you end up with. And so I'll take all this, little salt and pepper, little avocado oil, some olive oil, and let that sit for a little bit. Then you got to cook it a bit because it's a little bit, it's still uncooked. So let's just saute it a little bit, soften it up. Put the lovely sauce that Nicole is making over that. That's a recipe for tastiness right there.
So here's my dough that's going to be resting for 20 minutes. And like I said, if I was to do this by hand without the KitchenAid, by hand, it would probably take easily 30 minutes. And that took all of, what, 3 minutes, 5 minutes max. Next, what I'm going to do while I let that dough rest is then I prepare my sauce. I used whole peeled tomatoes, organic. And the reason why I like whole peeled is I find them to just have a little bit of a sweeter taste to them. These are pomodoro style tomatoes, and a great kitchen addition for you all as far as gadget goes is a Vitamix. This thing gets used at least once, sometimes twice a day in our household. We drink smoothies every day. This mixes everything up with a breeze. Throw some ice cubes in there. You would never even know that there are ice cubes in there when you make a smoothie. Using them obviously for my tomatoes, but the other great thing about this is if you want to make soups, when you're done making everything on the stovetop, you can toss it right in here at boiling temperature. Hold this thing down, let her rip. You're not going to have an explosion. This is another industrial graded unit that you'll find tons of restaurants use these, even bars when they're making cocktails they use these, but well worth an investment that'll last a lifetime. All right, so quickly here I am with the marinara that's going into our pasta dish for this evening. Voila! So you already know about the tomatoes. The recipe I'm actually going to share, but quite briefly, it's obviously the pork that we ground. Shallots, carrots, and a little bit of fresh fennel, and obviously garlic. And what I need to emphasize with your sauce, when you're making pasta sauce, you absolutely have to use fresh basil. If you use dry basil, your pasta sauce is going to come out tasting like pizza sauce. Fresh basil just gives like a little bit of more of a sweeter component to it. And the other thing I want to emphasize here is showing, since we use that food grinder from KitchenAid, how these pork crumbles look. And it's amazing. They're just these tiny little crumbles, and that's because, for a number of reasons, I think. I don't know, I'll have to ask Alton Brown, but I think it's because it's fresh meat and I trimmed it myself. When you buy the ground meat, whether it be turkey, ground chicken, or whatever it may be to make your marinara, if you notice when you're sauteing it, it'll tend to clump together and want to make like little meatballs. I don't know why it does that, but when you do it fresh and grind it yourself, it doesn't do that. Quite amazing. The preferred saute cookware I like to use, and actually a lot of my cookware, is Le Creuset. A little bit of an investment, but it's a lifetime investment because they will last a lifetime. And Le Creuset has a lifetime warranty as well. It just sautés like a breeze. It cooks extremely evenly, and from oven or stove oven to tabletop, it just keeps your food extremely warm. And
this is actually a Dutch oven.
This is a Dutch oven. So this is the 3.5 quart Dutch oven, which is, I use it almost every day. You can use it for more things than just making pasta. I actually will bake chicken in it. A lot of different things that you can do with it, but I love making marinara in it. And Dave loves it because it's really easy to clean up.
That's right.
What wine are we going to pair tonight? You don't always have to do Italian with Italian food. Sometimes French wine really works well, and that's what I felt like tonight, because I wanted something with a lot of texture, and I love the Rhone. And this is a Grenache-based wine from the Southern Rhone, a little Côte de Rhone from Domaine Chaux Arnaud, female producer, which is pretty amazing. Classic production where they don't use any oak at all, so all you're getting is pure expression of the fruit, which is, this is Grenache, Syrah, and Cinsault. It's going to pair really well with the pork-based marinara sauce and the bucatini, which the bucatini is going to have a little bit of a crunch to it. Just beautiful aromatic red wine that's going to pair really well with that dinner. So thank you. Hopefully you enjoy our recipe.
All right, so thanks for enjoying Sunday with us. I've got my sweet potato. Nicole has her bucatini.
Bucatini!
We have our lovely wine, and we are ready to eat a beautiful meal.